The political complexities are difficult enough, but its economic volatility has exceeded expectations. The best response to this era is to intensify nation building, reinforce national identity, and without compromise pursue national interests. Ambassador Shyam Saran, Mr. Srivastav, distinguished scholars, mathematicians, dear friends, fellow members of IIC, Namaskar, a very good evening to you all. Let me begin by saying what a great pleasure it is to join you all at this conference of South Asia's manuscript traditions and mathematical contributions. Let me applaud the India International Center for undertaking this initiative and appreciate the contribution of the Center for Traditional Indian Knowledge Systems and Skills, IIT Bombay. And I want to say that the Ministry of External Affairs and the ICCR, Nandini, I speak on your behalf, we are really proud to be a supporter of this project and would certainly like to continue that commitment. Now, manuscripts and mathematics aside, and I must say, I wish I had been taught mathematics poetically. It would have certainly made me a better student. But manuscripts and mathematics aside, what is this really about? And the answer, I believe, that in many ways this is about discovering, or more accurately, rediscovering ourselves. For many societies, how to preserve, nurture, and carry forward traditional knowledge systems over history, over time, has been a challenge. And we are no exception. In fact, for centuries, I would say for 1,000 years, our society has in some ways been assaulted from beyond our borders. And the intellectual cost, leave alone the human one, has actually been enormous. And perhaps there is a more graphic an example than the burning of the Nalanda University. And the scars of this is still visible in a range of domains. But much worse was actually to follow. The global ascendancy of Europe. For parts of the world which were not Europe, they were its dark ages. And because, as they say, they came, they saw, and they pillaged. And worst of all, they sought to erase our heritage and traditions. The legitimacy of British occupation, for example, was posited on the very denial of an Indian identity. And that is why we have the famous remark of Winston Churchill on India being no more a geographical term than the equator. For 2 centuries, the achievements and accomplishments of Indian culture were run down as retrograde, if not worse. The myth was even perpetuated that India was actually a made in Britain invention. And that is, in a way, what our national movement really fought against. And they fought against it by demonstrating a deep and inherent unity and reviving our skills, our crafts, our products, and our intellectual traditions. And gave us actually the self-confidence to defeat colonialism. The achievement of independence, however, was a milestone and not a destination. The revival of India as a civilizational state has taken much more than that, and in some ways I would still say is work in progress. Now, in the period that followed, our debates in some ways position modernity as antithetical to tradition. And the result was that we neither valued our past as much as we should have, nor did we make sufficient efforts to rediscover it after centuries of suppression. To a considerable degree, I think this attitude, this approach was reinforced by a belief that external models and ideologies held the key to our progress. And we went through that period as well, with all the handicaps that were inherent. And as a result, we actually set self-imposed limits on our own curiosity and our interests. Thereafter, the era of globalization actually reinforced this thinking by suggesting that the world was flat and a village to boot. The ground was prepared for universal norms and common standards. And all of you, of course, know who were the judges of those norms and standards. But of course, the real world was fundamentally different because it was essentially pluralistic, it was essentially diverse, but though, mind you, it was bound together in many regions by faith, by culture, history, traditions and practices. Now, today, we are past the high tide of globalization and we seek to actually define it within a certain border, within a certain framework. And that evolution makes it easier to encourage studying specificities. In India's case, this is an exercise that holds immense possibilities. Understanding traditions and appreciating historical contributions is not just a theoretical exercise. It is very much part of building an identity, especially of a civilizational nature. There are many other pathways to that objective. Some are very routine, I would say almost mundane. Others are much more complex. So when we support a Vishwakarma tradition, when we promote one district, one product in this country, when we espouse yoga, when we popularize Ayurveda, or when we advocate consumption of Sri Anna, each one of them is a facet of that endeavor. Your gathering, I want to tell you, is a cutting edge of something very much more profound. After all, drops of water make an ocean, and every effort that helps forge a deeper sense of ourselves must be lauded. Friends, the world is passing through an extraordinary period of change. Its architecture is being re-engineered in front of our eyes, even as institutions and modes of interaction, even of behavior, undergo transformation. The political complexities are difficult enough, but its economic volatility has exceeded expectations. The cultural dimensions are still unfolding and will not be easy either. They have to capture the rebalancing of the last many decades, even as they reflect the backlash against globalization. The best response to this era is to intensify nation building, reinforce national identity, and without compromise pursue national interests. Beyond the obvious, what is at stake are the dignity and self-image of a people, their freedom to exercise choices, and their ability to withstand pressure. So, while recognizing the importance of engaging the world, and I would say even intensifying that process of engagement, there is today a really compelling argument for greater Atmanirbharta. It is natural to define that in material terms, but at the end of the day, this is built on the foundation of national self-confidence. This is not just for a government or for its policy makers to ensure. Every citizen, every segment of society, every walk of life can and do make a difference. Intellectual leadership is particularly critical to that endeavor. Who we were and what we are will decide who we will become. It is in that spirit that I join you all. Let me again extend my best wishes for this particular conference and for the continued success of the summit I wish it. Thank you very much.